military junta in Burkina Faso, a West African nation, has made a surprising announcement. They plan to bring back the death penalty, which was removed in 2018. This move has sparked worry among human rights groups, as it goes against the right to life. However, does reinstating the death penalty solve Burkina Faso problem? Or does it risk more harm to the country? Well, let's find out. Historical context of capital punishment in Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso's history with capital punishment is complex. The last executions happened on September 19, 1988. 4 people were accused of trying to overthrow President Blaise Compaoré. They included the defense minister, Jean-Baptiste Boukhari-Lingani, and the minister of economic promotion, Henri Zongo. In 2018, Burkina Faso got rid of the death penalty. This was part of its penal code reforms. It joined a global trend towards not using capital punishment for certain crimes. Now the military in Burkina Faso might bring back the death penalty, but no law has been made yet. This move worries human rights groups. They say it's important to focus on keeping life sacred. The idea of bringing back capital punishment in Burkina Faso is concerning. By September 2019, more than 2/3 of the world's countries had stopped using the death penalty. This shows a worldwide shift away from it, seeing it as inhumane and not effective in fighting crime. However, Burkina Faso's military junta has plans to bring back the death penalty. This move was last used in 2018. Justice Minister Rodrigue Bayala said they might include it in a new criminal code, especially for terrorism. The country is facing a tough security situation. Over 26,000 people have died since 2016. The junta, which took power in September 2022, wants to fight this with harsher laws, like the death penalty. This decision worries many about the government's policies and their effects on society. The junta says it's needed to fight terrorism, but human rights groups and the UN oppose it, saying it's a violation of the right to life and can lead to wrong executions. The UN, which aims to end the death penalty worldwide, is against Burkina Faso's plans. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights stresses the importance of human dignity in life. They urge countries to abolish capital punishment completely. Considering the death penalty again will greatly affect Burkina Faso's governance and human rights. The world will watch closely how this decision impacts the people of Burkina Faso. Government's justification for reinstating capital punishment. The government in Burkina Faso has brought back the death penalty for a big reason. They are fighting a long battle against armed groups linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State. Since 2016, over 26,000 people have lost their lives in this fight. Since the military took control in September 2022, about 15,500 people have died. The government thinks the death penalty will stop terrorism and armed conflict. They believe it will make the country safer. Many countries are moving away from the death penalty, but Burkina Faso sees it as a way to fight against security threats. This choice shows the ongoing debate on using capital punishment to keep a country safe. Role of Justice Minister Idaso Rodrigue Bayala. Burkina Faso's Justice Minister Idaso Rodrigue Bayala is key in talks about bringing back the death penalty. He says the decision is being weighed and the new criminal code will show any changes. Biala mentions that the government might make more changes to the criminal code. This is because Captain Ibrahim Traore, the leader who took power in a coup in September 2022, has given new guidelines. This means the rules on capital punishment in Burkina Faso are still changing. The Justice Minister's words show the government is deeply involved in deciding about the death penalty. Biala's role in sharing the government's plans and possible future changes to the criminal code shows the situation is still in flux. This highlights the ongoing talks within the government. As Burkina Faso deals with this complex issue, the Justice Minister's part will be vital. He will help shape the legal system. This ensures the government's policies match its goals for the country's safety and stability. Current security situation in Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso, a West African nation, is dealing with major security issues. The country has been fighting extremist groups for nearly a decade. This fight has led to over 26,000 deaths since 2016. Things got worse after the military took over in September 2022. Since then, around 15,500 more people have lost their lives. In August 2024, an Islamist group attacked Barcelona town. They killed at least 133 people, including many children. Over 200 were injured in the attack. The JNIM group, a coalition of Islamist militants, was involved. The military in Burkina Faso is now using more civilian helpers, called the Volunteers for the Defense of the Homeland, VDPS. They aim to recruit 50,000 more VDPs, but this move worries human rights groups about possible freedom and rights issues. The security situation in Burkina Faso is still unstable. Islamist groups are attacking civilians, especially those seen as supporting the military or VDPs. The UN's human rights chief opposes the death penalty, saying it goes against human dignity and the right to life. This stance might make it harder for Burkina Faso to solve its crisis. International response and human rights concerns. Burkina Faso's military wants to bring back the death penalty. This has worried many human rights groups worldwide. Human Rights Watch, a top group against the death penalty, says it's cruel and can't be undone. About 170 countries have banned or put a hold on the death penalty. Burkina Faso's choice to bring it back is against the world's trend. The United Nations has been pushing for its abolition. The security in Burkina Faso is getting worse. Groups of violent extremists control about 40% of the country. This has led to over 1.7 million people being forced to leave their homes. Yet experts say the death penalty won't solve the problem. It might even make things worse by hurting human rights and the rule of law. The world, including the United Nations, is worried about Burkina Faso's decision. The UN Human Rights Office says over 1,400 people died in Burkina Faso in the first half of 2023. This shows the need for a better way to deal with security issues while keeping human rights in mind. As Burkina Faso faces this tough time, the world will watch how it handles the death penalty. Keeping human rights and following global rules against the death penalty is key. It will help decide Burkina Faso's future in dealing with its security and humanitarian crises. United Nations stance on death penalty. The United Nations General Assembly has always urged governments to stop using the death penalty. They want to limit its use and eventually abolish it. In 2007, the UN said the death penalty doesn't really stop crimes. It also noted that mistakes in using it are permanent and can't be fixed. Over time, the UN has pushed countries to get rid of the death penalty. In 2017, 170 countries didn't use it. Many countries have changed their laws to remove the death penalty or limit its use. For example, Benin, Burkina Faso, and Mongolia have new laws without it. Chad has also changed its laws to stop using the death penalty for most crimes. The international community is worried about Burkina Faso possibly bringing back the death penalty. This would be a big step back for the world. The UN is dedicated to human rights and the rule of law. It will keep pushing Burkina Faso and other countries to rethink their death penalty policies. Even with progress, the death penalty is still a debated topic. Some countries still use it. The UN wants countries to stop executions and limit when the death penalty is used. This ongoing conversation between the world and governments is key to the future of capital punishment. Impact on West African regional politics. Burkina Faso's choice to bring back the death penalty could change West Africa's politics. This move is opposite to what other African countries are doing. They are trying to get rid of capital punishment. In Kenya and Zimbabwe, bills are being considered to remove the death penalty for all crimes. Gambia is also working on changing its constitution to end the death penalty. Burkina Faso's decision might affect its neighbors in the region's human rights standards. The West African area has been a leader in ending the death penalty. Senegal, for example, banned it in 2004. This move by Burkina Faso has raised concerns worldwide. Human rights groups in the United Nations are speaking out against it. However, the question still remains, will reinstating the death penalty in Burkina Faso make any positive impact in Burkina Faso? Let us hear your opinion on the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more African news like this. See you in our next video.